Welcome back to another episode of Leaders and Founders. I'm thrilled to be joined by Andrew Smith today, founder of new company SPORTA. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So I could probably do you a disservice and give you a bit of an intro, but I think you founded more companies than most people work at in their careers. So do you want to give us a run through of yourself and who you are?
Yeah, I think I've founded 6 fintechs now, of which 3 people know, 1 pivoted, and 2 are not with us. So you could say I'm also a failed fintech.
Which is a good place to start. All the best founders have failed at some point.
Yeah, exactly. They are at some point. I failed my first driving test as well. So
there we go.
Best driver's always second time round.
First time.
So I don't like saying my background is, I did this, I did that. I usually say my background is what I do. And I would always say I'm a problem solver. So I solve bigger problems are more interesting to me, but let's just say solve problems predominantly with technology and new business models. And because of that, sometimes you end up doing something that's quite interesting and quite innovative to a point where you need to build a team to implement it. And then if you need to build a team to implement it, who are you going to sell it to, who you provide it to? And you end up building a business off the back of that. So that's how I've that's what I do, really. Is that going to change? No, I don't think so. I think it's in my blood, to be fair. But
I was going to say, was that always, you can't just start out no experience, well, you can these days, no experience and found a business.
Yeah.
Was that obvious in the early parts of your career that you had that in you and you always wanted to?
No.
Okay.
So I've got no entrepreneurial spirit across my family at all. That's a lie, right? If you go back in 300 years ago, I think my dad's great-great-granddad.
When they didn't have a choice.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he come up with something, right? But no, so I never really thought of it. You know, your background does kind of tell you, or your upbringing kind of puts you into roughly what you're going to go and do, or not go and do, but kind of your view of life. And I never had this thing that you could go and build a business. Never had an inclination that you could do that. So I went in to be a money broker originally, but we'll gloss over that bit. We can come back to that later if you want. But I ended up going into software development as a software consultant, loved it, really enjoyed it, fell into being a founder because we spent a number of times, a friend of mine, or he ended up being a really good friend of mine, working together. And we both sat there and just said, look, some of these products that are being delivered here are subpar. Let's just go with that, right? And we're writing tons of software or tons of workarounds. Why don't we just go and build this ourselves? There's a real problem here. Why don't we build it for ourselves and sell it? And he kind of dared me to do it, so I did. So I don't know what came over me.
So stubbornness is the reason this journey started.
Yeah. And so not stubbornness, ego. I think I was like, I can do it. What are you talking about, Warren? I can do it. Warren was actually my co-founder back then. So we then started this business. Realised that we were building something that was a little bit bigger than we originally thought. So we needed to pay mortgages. There's never a right time to start a business, and I really painfully found that out right at the start. So we had to go contracting. So we created 2 businesses. We had one as a consultancy arm, which was he and I pimping ourselves out for a daily rate to then put that into this company, to then spin up a side company that allowed us to sell this product, which was a good product. It really was, right? And we ended up being able to sell that to smaller businesses. Couldn't get into the blue chips that actually needed it because we were a 2-man band and didn't have 3 years worth of operating income behind us and a big support center, and we couldn't do this and this. So we sold it to a number of smaller businesses, and it was a bit of a sledgehammer to crack a walnut. It was far too advanced as a product for that market space. So it wasn't a great fit, and the economics didn't work out quite how they should have done. But that was the starting point, and I really found out that I loved it from that point onwards. Interesting, I said, would I have become a founder? What I know about myself now is yes, 100%. At some point, I would have gone on.
That was just the moment
that was just the moment that happened, right? But yeah, the life, not the lifestyle. I hate the lifestyle, but the balancing of juggling so many different things. That was the bit that really appealed to me, and I know myself that I would have ended up doing something if it wasn't at the start.
How did you manage to balance both of those at the same time? Because I'd imagine contracting out is 5 days a week full time. And then you've got startup to build on the side.
Yeah, and I didn't balance it. People talk about a work-life balance. I didn't have a work-life balance. I worked 8 till 6, probably contracting. Maybe a bit longer some of those days because I tried to bundle in a lot more that you would have done on the Fridays because you had like drinks at 3 o'clock on a Friday with your colleagues. So you bundled in a bit more, and I get home. Was I single at the time? I can't remember now. Probably wasn't. But I then get home, you had some food, and you would sit up in the spare bedroom and we'd start coding stuff. And I'd phone him up on the mobile and say, which bits are you looking at? We would try and work out what we're doing, and we would just go for it. And then when you were in between contracts, you'd have a really intensive period where
so literally no rest.
No rest, no. And I remember there was no Saturday and Sunday either. The only element on Saturday was I used to go and play cricket at that point.
Okay.
So I would be, right, I'm going to play cricket or a bit of basketball. I think I was still playing basketball then, but they're the only things that really interrupted that cycle. So it wasn't a good work-life balance, and I don't recommend it.
Obviously, part of that is because you're doing the contracting on the side, but do you think that's needed, that intensity in this modern environment now for early stage startups to succeed? Because there's a lot of talk around 996 is the only way to get ahead and beat Silicon Valley.
That's a really good question. What do I think about it? And I use the word think there because I don't really know the answer. I think if you look at, as I said, a work-life balance, maybe you never get it right. I don't think founders will ever get it right, and I don't think there's a methodology that anybody should really talk to. I think what you really got to understand is, and what I do know, it's about your mental health and your mental well-being. You need to switch off at times, right? You really do need to switch off, because I've burnt myself out on certain journeys where you think you can just keep going, but actually your body's telling you can't, your mind's telling you can't. So you've got to understand how you can work within your own parameters that's good for you, and you need to really set those boundaries. So I'm going to switch off between this time and this time, and I'm going to do something completely unrelated. That's probably the only thing that I can say that helps people.
Was that cricket for you when you were back early days then?
Early days, it would have been still basketball.
Yeah.
Up until I founded my first business at 24, I think it was. So I was still playing basketball then. And then after that, it would have been cricket. Yeah, definitely a lot of cricket. And I was trying to race motor cars as well at the time. I was racing Lotus Elises. I got a lovely invitation to race those and tried to get into Formula Palmer. Got all the times, did really well, but failed. So not only a failed founder, but failed sportsman.
Well, at least you've had success since in founder world. Not the motorsports, but...
Yeah, and I don't think there is really such a thing as failure and success, because if you fail, you're learning.
Failure's when you stop, right?
Yeah, failure's when you give up.
Yeah.
Right? That's the only time when you give up, then you failed. So even those early businesses, if somebody says to you, well, you failed, it didn't take off, it didn't do X, Y, and Z. All right, it didn't reach those heady heights, and it didn't give me an income, and we stopped pursuing that particular venture. Did I learn a lot of things along the way about business, about technology, about human interaction, human performance, myself? Yes. So it's not a failure, because it just sets you up for the next thing.
Nice. And a lot of you kind of alluded to it there, of building software that was being poorly done. A lot of the businesses you built have either been first of its kind or a better way of doing things. Why do you think it is that you come to those solutions of being a first mover, let's say?
I would say it's because of the problems that you try to tackle. If you tackle easier problems, or not such big picture problems, and people get turned off of the bigger picture problems because they're hard, or they're perceived to be a hard journey. And as soon as somebody says that's too hard, or it's going to take too long, they look for an easier opportunity or an easier solution. That's just human nature to a large extent. But if you decide to go, no, that is something that's really worthwhile solving, not necessarily from a monetary perspective, but it's something that's needed and we need to solve that, then you usually find out that you're a first. Or there might be some other people around you at a similar sort of time who are trying to do the same thing. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because that's people who are validating your thought that there's a market there and a real problem to be solved. But 9 times out of 10, you'll be first because you've decided to do something that's too hard for other people or just overlooked.
Do you think part of that is, would you say you have an ability to just persevere then, above maybe other people?
No. You were looking for some really...
I don't know, yeah.
No, so I think everyone's got the ability to persevere. I think everyone's got a limit of resilience, right, and what they want to do. That is dialed up or down based on your love for the mission. Right? And I talk about a little bit around founders who are in it for the right reasons, and founders who are there because they think they're going to make loads of money.
It's cool to be a founder now, right?
Well, yeah. So there's an element of, oh, it's cool to be a founder. So I want to be a founder. Okay, what does that actually mean? What are you founding? What are you actually trying to do? And a lot of people think, I want to be a founder because A, it's cool, it's hip. Don't use that word. But it's that cool, trendy sort of thing, and it's like in vogue. But it's also going to make me loads of money, and I'm going to be Jeff Bezos, right? And the reality is that if you're a founder of a company for those reasons, I would say 99.99% of the time you will fail to get to where you want to. If you're, and that partly be because you won't stay motivated through the hardships that are going to follow. If you're motivated because the mission is something you're very passionate about, you'll find that you're obsessed with it, and you need to have an obsessive nature to push through the hard times. We'll talk about this later probably, but SPORTA there's still a line beyond that, right? You've got people who are obsessed with things, and I was obsessed with us building ClearBank, especially very much so in the early days and what we were doing. But with SPORTA, the mission's so important, the vision's so important to me personally, and I believe to 43 million plus people in the UK, that I've become fanatical around it. It's kind of like you live, sleep, breathe it. And it goes back to that work-life balance. I don't have a work-life balance at all. I'm just getting better at managing.
Got better at spinning plates.
Yeah, and managing my own mental health and the other things that also matter to me in life. I'm a dad, I'm a husband. These things, family is unbelievably important to me. So you've got to be a family guy too, right? I can't just neglect my kids and the things or my wife, and the things that really matter to you in life. They matter the most. And it's very easy to get sucked into, this is my mission, this is my objective, and I must do this. And then you realize the things that really matter to you. Like on my deathbed, I'm not going to sit here and go, oh my God, didn't I do well? I created all these different
I made
businesses.
Forbes 30 under 30.
Yeah, or anything like that. You're not going to do that, right? You're going to remember the people, the emotional connection you have with friends and family, right? That's going to be the things that really matter. So it's just trying to make sure you don't lose sight of the things that really define you and let yourself be defined by what you do or what you've achieved.
And do you ever have moments where you find yourself slipping from that and have to give yourself a slap around the face and go?
Yep, and luckily I've got a fantastic wife that also
does it for you. Yeah.
So yeah, you do. And as I said, I got quite fanatical about things, and you realise that every conversation is around sport or SPORTA or financial inclusion or whatever else that is wrapped up into that kind of proposition, and it gets boring to other people. But my boy's trying to do spellings, and I'm sitting there thinking, right, if I can do. Hang on, that's the left back from Fulham's looking really, and all of a sudden you're like, what are you talking about? This is how you spell, whatever word he's on. So you need to understand how to make yourself present. And I'm not sure I always get it right, but you need a good support network around you to help.
But I guess one of those things as well, like a lot of things in life, it's a continuous journey. It's never, I found work-life balance, or I found myself in a period where I can switch off when I'm outside of work. Because the moment you relax and think, job done, you've probably dropped the ball and will slip back.
Yeah, I don't see things anymore in a light of job done ever. I just see everything as journeys, which gives you a very different outlook on life. Right? It does. So everything's a journey. Where am I on my journey right now? I'm doing really well at making sure I'm present for my wife and kids. Great. I can focus on some other stuff, and you move over. But then there'll be times when you have to shift that focus and you've got no option. So where am I on my journey right now? Okay, SPORTA demands more time from me, and now I've got to try and balance that back out. And that's where I am just at the moment. And then you'll have the next stage of your journey, and okay, you're back in a different. So you've never got a finish line. And if you think you've got a finish line, I think you're deluding yourself. There's no such thing as a finish line.
Why financial services? Because obviously it's where the career started. Is that you've seen how it works and you found problems, or there is a passion for solving those problems?
No, so that is something that is pure chance. I think I came out of university. Well, actually, before I went to university, I wanted to be a money broker, and people say, "Why did you want to be a money broker?" I thought, well, there's a couple of kids at school, and they had an older brother, and he was making loads of money as a money broker. And it's like, was that the mid-90s? And he's, that's the thing to go and do, because then you can buy a fast car and blah, blah, blah. And you think, okay, right, great, let's do that. And I did that for only 3 or 4 months. realised I hated it. I absolutely hated it. It was not for me. And there's so many reasons why it's not for me. And a friend of mine got me an unconditional offer at Glasgow Cali Uni. I never applied. She applied for me. And it came down as a fax. Shows you the when this was, doesn't it? It came down as a fax into the office. And the guy who's my boss, my line manager, came over and said, there's an offer here for you to go to university in Glasgow. The term's already started, but you can go on Monday. And this was like Thursday. I said, okay. So
should not have left that on the fax.
Something I should tell you, right? So I've decided I'm going to go, actually. And I decided it there in that particular second. So a little bit off and there's reasons why sometimes I do things like that. But yeah, it was off the cuff. So financial services where I started. It came out of university and landed straight back in financial services. I worked in telephone banking at Barclays. So it's kind of one of those things I've been out of it, thankfully. I did a lot of time with insurance and telecoms, which was really cool when 3G was just becoming this thing and a smartphone was a new thing. That was a really interesting period in my life. But yeah, it's predominantly come back to financial services, and I understand it, and it touches everybody's lives. People don't realize, well, you're in financial services. Well, a lot of the problems that we all face is something to do with underlying financial need or money movement or infrastructure. So it's just one of those things that's attracted me by chance, but then attracted me because of the importance of it.
Yeah, and I think you're right. It touches everybody.
Well, you can't get away.
Everybody around the world.
Yeah.
Whatever sector you're in, whatever part of financial services, everybody's involved in some way. So I think it's a good way to use your time to impact people. Claire, you've done a good job of it so far. So
far. Okay, yeah.
Which brings us on to the new journey.
Yeah.
Talk to me about SPORTA.
So yeah, I mean, a lot of people say, what is SPORTA? And so I'm going to bore you briefly. I'm going to start with the problem at the start.
It's a good place to start.
Yeah, and as I said, I solve problems. So I don't really just think of what should we do? Let's go and create a new business. Is okay off the back of solving a problem. That's what you do, or what I personally do. So SPORTA's a problem, as in it's solving a problem. And the problem is that sport today generates 110 billion in social and economic value. It's through the very fabric of everything that runs through the UK, really. I could ask you, what's your favourite team? I can ask you, what sports have you played as a kid? Are you still involved in sports yourself? What you've got passion for? And you're going to tell me...
Arsenal,
right. Okay, I'm a Tottenham supporter. This conversation.
Oh, I'm glad we're having this before Sunday.
Yeah. But yeah, see, so Arsenal, right? And I bet you still play football. You played football as a kid. You've got local clubs.
Yeah, and played rugby growing up.
There we are. See, so, and you're passionate probably about certain things in life, your career, and it's going to be Arsenal, and it's going to be the grassroots clubs that helped you, right? So it runs through everything that we do. And the problem there is, though, that it's financially unsustainable. It's just not sustainable. And people say, why? It's not something I think, it's something I know, and it's something that everybody knows. There's so much information out there by GovUK, there's so much there by Sport England of why this is a challenge. And you look at it, this all started for me because I got asked to be a benefactor to a local cricket club. I had sold some of my equity at ClearBank, and they approached me and said, look, you know, the club's in the community, we know you play cricket, we know you like community aspects, and we know you like some of the local businesses that kind of like orbit our club, because I used them, right? So yeah, okay, fine, I'll have a look. They sent me some information, the whole balance sheet and what they were doing, right? And when I went through that, I could see the model is just not sustainable. And I said to them, if I put money into this, how long will it last? And they would look at me saying, well, no, hold on, it's going to be fine. I said, I reckon you got 3 years if I put some money in, maybe 5, if somebody else joins me. And I don't have the sort of money you're looking for to make this a real 10-year venture sort of thing. And I remember having this kind of like light bulb moment, which was, okay, Andrew, you understand there's a load of financial issues here, and you're in fintech, you're passionate about the sports club. You either put some money in and save this club, or you put your money where your mouth is and back yourself to solve the problem, and you're going to build something that will save not this club, but all sports clubs. And that's what I did. So I walked away from there and just thought, okay, what am I going to do? And I was just coming to the end of my journey with RTGS Global, and I thought, this is only going to explore a lot more. And then I kind of went into the process that I have around how do I start a new business, or is it worth starting a new business? And that's where it started. That's the journey. SPORTA essentially is at its heart a challenger bank. It will be another challenger bank. And I hate the fact I just said another challenger bank, but it's a challenger bank. But it's a challenger bank with a difference, right? And there's two big differences. The first one is that it's got a mission and a purpose. Its entire mission and purpose is to make sport sustainable. And we need to make sport sustainable so that the generations of tomorrow, but you and I and everybody else can get all the benefit that sport provides you in terms of refining your character, what you become as a person, but also the local businesses around it that depend on sport, the footfall. If you lose that, what are you taking away from community? And we know when you take sport away from communities, antisocial behaviour goes up, youth crime goes up. You're talking about unhealthier workforce. There's more dependency on NHS. Mental well-being and resilience is downgraded massively. So there's all these big, macro and microeconomic reasons that sport's so important, and that's what we started to look at. As I said, SPORTA at its heart is a challenger bank that will have that mission. The second part is AI native. So I'm into tech, right? If I want to solve a problem, I'm going to solve it with leading edge technology and new business models. And that's exactly what SPORTA's doing. So it's a brand new challenger bank, AI driven, operationally very, very different. You and I, anyone can bank with it. It's hyper personalized, and I can talk to you and bore you a little bit around some of the stuff how we do this, but it's hyper personalized to you and your lifestyle, your demographic, what matters to you. And it's the same to businesses and clubs. And off the back of that, you just choosing to bank with us generates a revenue stream for your club of choice. And that could be Arsenal, but it's more likely to be, okay, where did you play rugby as a kid, right? It's going to be where you play rugby as a kid or wherever. And you're going to send that money to them by just generating revenue by working with us.
It's awesome.
It's different.
It is different. There's loads to unpick there. I think, I played a lot of rugby growing up, and I always remember there was one club that we used to play against, Cleve, around Bristol way.
Yep.
And no idea where they got the money from, but it was the nicest place by far. Every other place you go to is a classic sports clubhouse, run down, you get sausage and chips. It stinks of deep fat fryer, rubbish change rooms. This place was incredible. Like, I have no idea where they got the money for, but you compare that to most, they're obviously very lucky to have had money put into the club. But that's an outlier, like generally speaking. Clubs, facilities aren't great, they're not necessarily that well ran, aren't maybe utilising their facilities in the best way and funding that they do get. And then having spoken to a lot of sports governing bodies, like it's tough for them as well because they've got professional games to manage, grassroots.
You're touching on so many. So you touched on so many points there, right? So your first point around the club that's great. What's really interesting is clubs that get, and this is not just in rugby, it's in all sports, right? If you've got better facilities, you attract more kids, right? And more adults too, right? And sports open to everybody. So you attract more talent. And if you've got more talent there, you're going to become a better club. If you've got more talent at that level, there's potentially an upstream thing where it goes on to more elite levels of sport. So that investment into the facilities is really crucial if you want to see Team GB and I don't mean the Olympic Team GB, I mean that as well, but anything to do with UK sport do well. Your point around the governing bodies have not so much money coming in. That's true. They have limited funds coming in. There's less money coming in, and there's more stress placed on how they get that revenue in the first place. Now, some of that is, there's lots of reasons why, but some of it is because you've got private equity, you've got sophisticated investors that bought up elite sport media rights. Now, if you've bought that up, that's income that used to come into the governing body, and then the governing body, rugby is a great example, used to flow that down into the clubs. So whatever club it was, you would get some sort of grant if you wanted to maintain the property or the infrastructure you've got. The clubhouse would get a bit of an upgrade, a new lick of paint. And if you had a project where you wanted female changing rooms, you would go to the RFU and get a grant, right? The money, they don't have that money anymore because they've got no income stream because they sold it. So that means that you've got this pressure on these clubs where costs are going up and the economy is all costs going up, power costs, if you've got energy price go up, everything goes up. So you've got these poor old clubs where the cost of everything they do is going up. The income they can get from their governing body's gone down. And then you've got an economic climate where your membership is sitting there going, I can't afford to just keep dipping in my pocket and go into a fundraiser and give you money.
It's not sustainable.
No, it's not sustainable. And the worrying thing about that is that we all look at sport with a nice pair of rose-tinted glasses. You and I probably do, because we talked just before this around a number of aspects of sport. But so does leadership, I feel. So if I think about grassroots leadership, and I think about the elite level and the governing body level, and I say this, sorry, I'm jumping a little bit, but I say this because of the research that's out there. So Sport England will say that 40% roughly of the clubs feel that they may not be here in the next 3 to 5 years. Our own research points at 59%. Okay. If you look at it at a balance sheet perspective and go and look at Companies House and have a look at some of these clubs, only 20% break even. So that means 80% aren't breaking even. 80% are in financial trouble. And yet Sport England research says only 40% of all clubs feel like they might go out of business. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, we must be all sitting there going, oh, it's not a problem, we'll solve it next year.
Just asking people how they feel, and they're like, well, I think we'll be okay.
I think we'll be okay, yeah. Or we'll grab a benefactor, or we'll grab some sponsorship.
Just optimism.
Yeah, because the club's been here for 50 years, or 80 years, or 200 years in some cases. So I kind of fear that that's a little bit of the problem, if that makes sense.
It's not an easy problem to solve.
No.
So is there a way of dishing it out? Is it purely people will decide where the money goes? Is there, how does the business SPORTA work?
So you're wandering out from founder's journey into how, aren't you?
Yeah.
So it's about you. I believe everything should be hyper-personalised to you. So what clubs matter to you? You're going to tell us. You're going to tell your AI agent inside your banking app, and it's going to design an account that gives back money to those clubs that matter to you. So it's all based on you. We're not making decisions for you. As in, I'm not saying, oh, we'll donate to a charity and percentage of this goes to those sorts of clubs. No. If it's your club, you'll actually send the money to your club. Bigger clubs will obviously, if you convert 100% of your membership base, or even only 30% of your membership base to start banking with us, you're going to generate a significant income stream to yourself. We have done a case study. I called it Bang Average Cricket Club. And it is bang average. It's right in the middle of the number of members there, the number of non-playing members, the number of kids involved. And you take Bang Average Cricket Club and you look at the costs that SPORTA will strip out for you. Just banking with us and working with us, we can strip those out. We look at how we can help you optimize some additional revenue coming in through, some of it will be clever stuff with gift aid and stuff that you should be claiming, but you probably aren't at the moment. And then the final part of the puzzle is, well, if you convert 30% of your members to bank with us for your everyday banking, savings, ideally loans as well, and insurance, it generates a revenue stream. And just on roundups and the cashbacks, Bang Average Cricket Club will be over £20,000 a year better off by selecting SPORTA and getting 30% of its money. That's one product, £21,000 it works out.
Which is a huge amount for a grassroots
what
club.
What can you do with 21 grand as a grassroots club? It's paying for the groundskeeper at a cricket club, or you've got to get your new scoreboards in, or you've got to get the new side screens. You can pay for that, right? And if you want to borrow money to invest in other aspects of the infrastructure or the grassroots game or community outreach programs, whatever you want to borrow, you've now got a revenue stream that's sitting there that is more understandable, right? It's not just a membership stream of subscriptions. You've now got a base of people who are out there banking with us, doing whatever they do, buying a coffee, buying a magazine, whatever they're doing, generating a revenue stream, which means we can lend more to you responsibly, knowing that you and your membership will pay that back in a timely fashion, and therefore it's a lower risk. And I'm hoping that some other banks aren't listening to this. But they won't be able to.
No.
Yeah.
I guess one thing, I think sport, particularly as you're growing up as a kid, is really important. I think it teaches you a lot of lessons that you won't get in school or necessarily outside of it.
Yep.
Do you think if you hadn't played sport growing up that you would be passionate enough to start SPORTA?
Then that is a question that's left field. Would I have been passionate? No. I think the simple answer is no.
Which I think shows the impact that playing sport as a youngster can have later on in life.
Yeah, but I reckon 90% of your listeners have played sport.
Yeah,
maybe more, right? And there's some of them will have played sport and not enjoyed it, but there's still lessons that everybody learns from sport. I think there's over 50 million of us in the last 10 years who have gone through grassroots sports programs. That's a lot of people that are learning a lot about themselves, about resilience, teamwork, all those things. and you become very passionate about the things that you understand or you care for. So me playing grassroots sport and at, national league level and a bit higher.
Drop that in there.
Yeah, drop that in. You see that? Yeah, used to play national league basketball. I was like the Michael Jordan. No, anyway. But yeah, you learn a lot and you become passionate about it. And if you see something at the coalface and you see what impact it has on the community and people around you, your peers, what it can do for them in terms of just mental well-being, and the lessons it teaches your kids, you are going to be unbelievably passionate about this movement or project that we have, I think. So to answer your question very shortly, no. I think if I hadn't been there, hadn't gone through these journeys and hadn't been passionate about sport, I wouldn't have been passionate about solving the challenges that sport faces, and I wouldn't be working with SPORTA.
Well, good job you are.
So far, yeah.
And why do you think they're so badly underserved by incumbents at the moment?
So underserved or marginalised, let's go with it, whichever way we want to. So the reason is twofold. It's technology and it's business models and culture. If you look at culturally and the business models, you've had 40 years and put technology in with this 40 years of trying to streamline and reduce costs and digitize your banking experience. We have digital transformation officers. We have all these sorts of things now in banking. And what that means you're doing is you're trying to bundle everything into a product. You're productionizing a service. My banking service is now a product. Not a problem with that, but what happens there is that you can't service everybody. So you come up with these products and mindsets and you learn around the product mindset because the customers are utilizing it that looks like X. It's this framework, right? So you're expecting your customers to pick the type of current account off that you offer. You've got one type of savings account or you've got different types of savings accounts, but they're still products, right? So you pick that one and you're expecting your customer to come up with a shopping basket of services that they want, none of which perfectly fit them. But for 70% of your customer base, they work as well as you need to or close to perfect. 70-30 rule, it's to do the 30% is really, really hard. What happens there is you then end up with business models and a cultural understanding around what does the 70% look like. Now, if you then have businesses or individuals who operate outside of that, they're going to become increasingly marginalized because you're not serving them. By not serving them, you're understanding them less and less. And by not understanding them, you haven't got any data points to even start to understand them. So you end up with this marginalization, and sport, leisure, well-being, film, theatre, music, arts. There's a whole raft of these that are becoming increasingly underserved. And if I look at the economy in the next 5 to 10 years and the gig economy and things like that, that's going to be a lot of individuals who fall now into the marginalized bracket, as opposed to you work 9 to 5 in an office. We understand your banking needs. You're a business that's a private limited company. You sell widgets. Widgets have got this demand. It's not going to work like that.
Do you think, this is putting you on the spot, but do you think you will be the first, or if not one of the first, that are truly AI native for a bank?
I think we're the first.
Yeah.
I think we are the first.
I can't think of another, so.
No, I can't think of another. And the reason why I'm pretty confident of that is because of the AI specialists that keep reaching out to us to want to be involved. So, and I always say that we're an AI bank, right? We're AI native. And that means AI is running through every single concept of what a bank is. So we're tearing up everything that in some ways I've learned around banking and starting again with, there will not be a workflow in SPORTA. There's agentic AI that's handling sort of what you would consider a traditional process, but it's gone. I don't have workflow agents. We don't have case management. We have agentic AI and oversight of that. So it's very, very different.
How do you handle stuff like ethics, compliance, regulation when it comes to AI?
Yeah, I mean, it's
because that will be a natural concern as soon as somebody hears AI native for a bank.
Yeah, and that's because people think of AI
as ChatGPT.
Yeah, it's a black box and they don't understand, right? So that's fine, and it's up to us to educate everyone around that. It's not a black box. AI is actually an open mind for us, which means I can see what it's actually thinking and why did it come up with that decision point. Why have you refused a bank account to Joe Bloggs? I can see exactly the points that it's come up with and audit those. And then we can say that's the reasoning behind it and AI's made the right choice.